If intelligence determined the kings of the animal kingdom, primates would certainly hold the crown. Among them was an extraordinary case, Lucy the chimpanzee, a wild animal raised and taught exactly as if she were human. But what happens when the animal herself believes she's truly human? When Lucy even developed romantic desires, wanting to have a child with a human? Sadly, Lucy's story ended in tragedy and bitterness. So what exactly went wrong as we explore this bizarre and heartbreaking experiment? Lucy was a female chimpanzee, but unlike her wild counterparts, her life was intertwined with humans from the moment she was born in 1964. Shortly after being rescued from a circus in Florida, Lucy was auctioned off to researchers at the Institute for Primate Studies in Oklahoma, quickly becoming the subject of numerous reports. Yet it was only when psychologist Maurice Temerlin and his wife Jane adopted her that Lucy truly became widely known. Lucy soon became the focus of various studies, but Temerlin was most intrigued by whether a chimp could adopt human personality traits and behaviors. Driven by this curiosity, Temerlin and Jane raised Lucy exactly as if she were their own biological daughter. Both were fascinated by the psychological development of primates and wanted to closely observe the process. Despite their meticulous care, however, they never fully grasped what Lucy genuinely felt or desired. Lucy was diapered to prevent accidents, given toys to comfort her when sad, and slept in a crib like any human baby. As she grew older, Lucy was even taught to use cutlery, tasted freshly cooked meals, and sat at the dining table alongside her adoptive parents. Over time, Lucy began to transform, becoming increasingly aware. In a way, she matured, developing into something more closely resembling a human, at least on a basic cognitive level. Soon, Lucy began learning how to dress elegantly, donning hats and wearing dresses. At times, her adoptive parents even caught her admiring herself in the mirror. In her leisure time, Lucy enjoyed reading magazines, flipping endlessly through pages filled with images. Although Lucy clearly couldn't read or truly comprehend those pictures, she still found immense pleasure, spending hours leisurely turning pages without ever growing bored. When Lucy reached her teen years, typical adolescent behaviors became increasingly evident in this unique chimpanzee. She developed a taste for gin, secretly drinking whenever adults weren't watching, eventually becoming completely intoxicated and collapsing in drunkenness. At home, Lucy was also entrusted by her adoptive parents with caring for a small kitten. She frequently played with and affectionately cuddled it, mimicking how humans treat their beloved pets. But once left unattended, Lucy's demeanor abruptly changed. She even bit the kitten's ears painfully. It was at this point that the Temerlin family genuinely grew concerned. They finally realized that despite being raised exactly like a human, Lucy's nature remained fundamentally animalistic. Her harsh behavior toward the kitten was likely just a spontaneous instinct, something any wild creature with predatory tendencies would naturally exhibit. Yet, despite all this, the Temerlin family refused to give up. Instead, they kept an even closer watch on Lucy and eventually hired someone to teach sign language to their adopted daughter. Thanks to her comfortable life in modern society, Lucy's linguistic abilities quickly surpassed those of her captive peers. She mastered a total of 250 different signs, using them regularly to communicate with her adoptive parents. Although debates still lingered over whether Lucy genuinely understood language or was merely imitating human behaviors, one thing remained undeniable. Lucy was capable of expressing emotions, listening, and sharing feelings with her loved ones, far beyond the level seen in wild chimpanzees or animals in general. She even comforted her adoptive mother, Jane Temerlin, with warm hugs and gentle back rubs whenever she sensed Jane was upset. As time passed, Lucy began exhibiting natural signs of maturity, developing clear desires evident in her fascination with the Playgirl magazine aimed at women. She even considered humans as potential partners for her impulsive urges. Understandably so, since she'd been raised entirely around people and had never even encountered other chimpanzees. Observing this worrying behavior, the Temerlins eventually decided it was time for Lucy to meet her own species, hoping she might finally form connections with her fellow chimpanzees. However, the arranged meeting quickly turned into a disaster. Lucy was utterly terrified by her fellow chimpanzees. Clearly, she'd become far too accustomed to the human form, so confronting her own species inevitably triggered panic. From then on, Lucy's life gradually deteriorated. She became increasingly disobedient, aggressive, and often vented frustration by smashing objects or tearing apart clothing. The stark contrast between modern human society and wild nature left a creature like Lucy restless. Even more distressingly, Lucy repeatedly used sign language to tell her adoptive parents that she felt hurt. Soon afterward, around the age of 12, the chimpanzee began displaying symptoms of depression, sitting silently in isolation and frequently refusing food. At this point, the Temerlins felt compelled to choose the simplest solution available, returning Lucy to the wild, allowing her a chance at a normal chimpanzee life. A few days later, Lucy was sent to a chimp rehabilitation center in Gambia, placed under the care of Janice Carter, a newly graduated psychology student. Carter's initial responsibility was to stay long enough for these animals to adjust to their new environment, but this task proved far more challenging than she'd imagined. Lucy had lived among humans almost since birth, raised entirely within human society, genuinely believing herself to be human. Carter patiently taught Lucy what was edible, took her into the forest, and showed her how to forage and communicate with other chimpanzees. In 1985, a dramatic event occurred when Carter was attacked by a chimpanzee named Dash, forcing her to escape into the water and swim to safety. Realizing she had lost her dominant role among the island's chimpanzees, Carter understood she needed to leave quickly for her own safety. A year later, Carter returned to the island with some of Lucy's personal belongings. Lucy, along with a small group of chimpanzees, warmly greeted her. Lucy hugged Carter affectionately before returning to her group, turning her back and walking away. Yet tragically, just 1 year later, when Carter visited Lucy again, she was horrified to discover the chimpanzee's lifeless body. Lucy had likely fallen victim to poachers. Her skeleton was missing a hand, her head severed, and all her skin and fur gone. Ultimately, the most extraordinary chimpanzee in human history had met a profoundly devastating end.